Right. Hello. Welcome to our third edition of the webinar series put on by the Career Center ECCS. We're excited to continue these 15-minute, small, digestible webinars to help get you thinking about ways you can engage in your career development during these odd times. So today we'll talk a little bit about LinkedIn Learning, which is an awesome resource you have access to as a student. So I'm going to introduce Claire Ami, who will provide some information and get you some information, and we'll let her roll.
Thanks, Danny. All right, so I actually wanted to start today with a poll. I'm going to try a poll. It's the first time that I've tried this. It should pop up. Let me see if I'm going to open this up with the poll and see. Are you all seeing the poll show up for you?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. So I have two questions today. Do you have a LinkedIn profile already? And then how did you kind of hear about our webinar? Love to know. I'll give you all 30 seconds to kind of answer that quick. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and then share those results to you all. And it looks like all of you have LinkedIn profiles already. Wow, that's awesome. So this webinar today will be very helpful in helping connect some of those some extra things that you can do with LinkedIn and filling in those gaps. Since so many of you already have LinkedIn profiles, it looks like 100% of you do, and then most people heard about us from either the email or some other way. So thank you so much for participating there. So the next up, I just wanted to kind of talk about a couple things before we begin. You may have already kind of figured out how to do this, but in the middle of your screen in WebEx, there's a little button, or if you hover in the center there at the bottom, there should be a little chat bubble that pops open. Click that, it should open up a little chat that'll open on the right-hand side. If you have any questions during today's presentation, you can type in those questions. We've got other folks on the line, so from the Career Center who can kind of answer any questions if you're having technical issues, that sort of thing. Just to kind of minimize on the feedback that might happen, we're going to keep you muted today. But if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them down in the chat box, or there's a little raise hand function, and there will be some opportunities to ask some questions as we kind of go through. So the agenda for today, we're just gonna, and this is only 15 minutes, so it's a short and brief. There are lots more I could talk about with LinkedIn, but what we're going to talk about today is what is it, how do you log in, some tips and tricks. We're going to have a student who is with the Career Center who's going to share some of her favorite courses so far and how that might look if you do take some LinkedIn Learning certificates and that sort of thing, and then some other ways you might be able to fill the gap, and then open it up for question and answers. All right, so just as a plug before we hop into LinkedIn Learning, since so many of you are already on LinkedIn, this is probably already a no-brainer for you, but I always like to plug LinkedIn as it's the world's largest professional network. It's kind of the social media area that you can control. So I highly recommend, if you're not already on LinkedIn, that you create a LinkedIn profile. We can help with that in the Career Center. But I enjoyed this stat, which is there's only 4% of recruiters who don't use social media in the recruiting process. And if you take a look as well, these are the different social media platforms that they're using. 87% of recruiters are hopping on LinkedIn and checking you out before they move through that interview process or hiring process. So it's super important that you have a LinkedIn profile. And then the next one I've got here to share with you is, what is LinkedIn Learning? So LinkedIn Learning is available to all ECCS students, staff, faculty at no cost. It's something that we provide that offers a variety of different courses that you can add and take, and through taking those courses you can learn a lot of different additional skills to supplement. It's a great place to add some of those skills maybe that are outside the classroom. Maybe you don't have the time to take that specific Cisco class, or maybe you want to learn about digital marketing but don't have the time for the whole class and you just need some basics. LinkedIn Learning is great for that. And LinkedIn Learning can be accessed using single sign-on, so that's your UCCS username and password. And then you can log in to LinkedIn Learning through the campus portal, and the address is there, so https // my.cu.edu. You open up the CU resources drop-down menu, select training, click the LinkedIn Learning title, and you should be able then to log into LinkedIn Learning. The secondary piece is then linking your LinkedIn Learning profile to your LinkedIn account. It'll ask you for your LinkedIn password and that sort of thing. I highly recommend doing that, because then as you take courses, then those will be reflected on your LinkedIn profile. So that's all part of the sign-in process. And in addition to today, we're going to show you something on the web, but there are other ways to view LinkedIn Learning. You can also watch it on your phone, on your mobile, or on your tablet. I've actually personally watched a couple laying in bed with my phone because it's so easy to just kind of watch those little quick videos. So lots of different ways that you can do that. And they're basically courses for everything. So once you logged into LinkedIn Learning, for me, it does it based on, so it's going to read kind of like what your skills are that you've kind of listed in LinkedIn, and then make some recommendations. You can also set a weekly goal. So if you're like, man, I'm going to try to hit every week at least 15 minutes of learning, whatever that might be, you can pop in there and you'll see that there's a variety of different courses. This is kind of what it looks like when you log into LinkedIn Learning. And like I said, it revolves around everything that you've got kind of in there. So if you've listed in your LinkedIn profile that you know, have got some Word and things like that, some Microsoft training, it might make some recommendations for some higher level training based on what you've got there, which is pretty cool. And then there's endless opportunities within LinkedIn Learning. So there are over 50,000 different courses that you can take. And some of those are directly linked to continuing education as well. Some of them are free, some of them cost money, but you can do a lot of preparing for different continuing ed courses within LinkedIn Learning, which is fantastic for our alumni folks. And like I said, there's these learning paths that give you certificates. So our student's going to kind of show you what that certificate kind of looks like. But if you're interested in learning paths, once you log into LinkedIn Learning, in the top left, there's kind of that browse button. If you pop that open, there's a lot of different categories. They kind of break it into 4 different areas. So business, creative, technology, and then there's University of Colorado specific ones. And each of those that you hover over, there's a thing called a learning path. And so these learning paths, there's a lot of different options. But say I wanted to become a digital marketer, if I clicked on that, it would then open up the different courses that are within that. So this one, for example, is 17 hours of content. So obviously I wouldn't do all 17 hours right you know, in one sitting, but I would probably break it up. And once I kind of finished each of those different courses, there's little quizzes that follow each of them. Then I could show that I have, because there's a certificate that'll be at the end, and show that I have that skill set to become a digital marketer on my LinkedIn profile. So there's lots of benefits to having this kind of linked. So next I'm going to flip it over to our student. So Samantha, if you want to take the reins and kind of show a couple of things from your perspective.
Yeah, of course. Let me
introduce yourself.
That way you guys can see it from my view. Before I start, my name is Samantha Almario. I'm a student assistant in the Career Center. I'm actually graduating next week. Oh, that's crazy to think about. Going on to grad school to get my doctorates in psychology out in California. So super excited about that. So even if you're not jumping straight into a job right after graduation, LinkedIn Learning is still really great because it helps you decide, I guess, your next steps of what you want to do, and that way you can be more prepared when you get ready to jump into the career field, so to speak. So this is what mine looks like. My favorite LinkedIn Learning that I've done so far is how to develop your career plan. So kind of like what I was talking about, it really helps, even if you're not graduating for a couple more years. This is really good because it breaks down exactly what you want to do and the steps that you need to take in order to get there. And of course, if you have any other questions, of course, we can help out in the Career Center as well. So these are the ones that I've completed, and then kind of as Claire was talking about earlier, to my profile, this is what it'll look like under the license licenses and certifications of all of the LinkedIn learnings that you guys will be doing. I don't know if I'm missing anything, Claire. Should I touch on anything else?
About how long did it take you to kind of get through those?
Each one was different, so I can go back to the tab and it'll tell you how long it is. So my favorite one was 24 minutes. Some of them are close to an hour. So like this one with rocking your LinkedIn profile, same thing like as Claire mentioned earlier, of using this on different platforms. So I had this course pulled up on my phone and my actual LinkedIn profile pulled up on my computer, and I was watching it and making updates to my profile at the same time. So that way I didn't have to keep switching back and forth between tabs and all of that. It just kind of made it easier to do it that way.
Thank you for sharing. Are there any that like, I'm going to do these next?
You know, I keep after I completed my of like what I was looking for in LinkedIn Learning. Now I get in my email different suggestions of what I could be doing next, different classes.
Cool, very cool. Thanks for sharing. And Samantha's going to keep hers up as well. I'm going to flip back to the PowerPoint, but if we've got questions at the end, how that looks, that sort of thing, she's gonna lead that up so that we can have the student perspective on there. Thank you, Samantha. And then I'll pop back in here. So thank you. I just had that up there, so just in case. So this, as we're kind of wrapping up, remember it's only 15 minutes, so don't have a huge amount of time. Just kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of a taste. There's a few other ways that you can consider to fill the gaps. And one of those is webinars from professional organizations, also webinars that the Career Center is offering, and a lot of the other colleges on campus. Even our own Office of Information Technology does offer webinars from time to time, and some of the learning centers on campus. So those are also good webinars to hop on to kind of get some filling of the gaps. And the reason that I think that the LinkedIn Learning is really important right now is, you know, as we're coming up with other ways to kind of, you know, continue to evolve and learn, this is something that's free access wise for you all as students, staff, faculty, alumni. So feel free to hop in there. And then the other thing is internships are great ways to obviously learn and fill the gaps. And that's kind of a plug for our next one. In our next webinar, which is going to be about internships. And I'll tell you about that in a minute here. So the other things that we can help you out with from the Career Center, so just a plug for us, we can help with, we're on Starfish, so you can make a digital appointment with us. We can help with your resume that you can then put on your LinkedIn profile. We can also help with LinkedIn and Handshake profiles, which there's also a webinar that we did earlier that you can go back and reference as well. We can also make some suggestions for course paths. So if you're like, oh my goodness, like I'm not really sure where to start. I really want to get this job working in student life, working on posters. What would be a good course to take within LinkedIn Learning? We can kind of make some suggestions there. And we can also help you with exploration of companies and things like that within LinkedIn. So the gamut when it comes to this. I also want to put a plug in for our Handshake job platform, which is another great place to hop into if you've got you know, once you kind of have your profile set up, it's very similar, and there's lots of opportunities there to grow your career as well. And then, of course, our website has links to get to the Starfish appointments and a wealth of other information. And so, just as we're kind of wrapping up here, 1 minute over, sorry, y'all. So our next webinar is going to be Experience with Internships. It's going to be next Tuesday. And actually next week we'll have 2 webinars that are 15 minutes long. And actually the last one will be probably a little bit longer than 15 minutes, but please join us next time around. And then I just wanted to kind of open it up for questions. So feel free to unmute yourself or even type something in the chat box, and we'll get those questions answered here. So